Hello guys, hope you are really well. Arsenal closing in on a fourth major summer signing after the acquisitions of Declan Rice, Jurriën Timber, Kai Havertz. They're now strengthening the goalkeeper position. A deal has been agreed with Brentford to sign David Raya, the best part of £30 million. Once all the add-ons and various bonuses are triggered in that deal, he could ultimately cost Arsenal similar fee to the kind of fee they paid for Aaron Ramsdale, and it leaves Arsenal with a fascinating battle for the number one shirt. We're going to get into that properly now. Before we do, just want to say thanks to you all for watching, subscribing, liking, commenting. It's hugely appreciated, particularly on the subscriptions front. We're trying to grow the channel. It's been a great summer. I've really enjoyed having a more relaxed forum in which to talk about Arsenal and particularly over the summer transfer news. If you have been enjoying the videos, please do subscribe. It's very much appreciated. Now, let's start talking about Raya. As I say, a fee that could total £30 million or close to that mark once all various bonuses and triggers are met. It's a very good goalkeeper at a very fair price. I think that's fair to say. Brentford came into the summer asking for £40 million. I think at that time there were lots of teams interested, the likes of United, Chelsea, Spurs, all keeping tabs on Raya. And I think they were probably within their rights to think they might get that £40 million figure. In the end, ultimately nobody paid it and Arsenal have swept in. David Raya's made it very clear to Brentford that Arsenal are his choice. They are the club where he wants to go, and that has strengthened Arsenal's hands in negotiations. To end up paying under 30 million is real value, even for a player with 12 months to go on his contract. Arsenal, of course, are going to sell Matt Turner for around, I think, 8 to 10 million, again, once all the clauses are hit. So they'll look at this a not huge outlay for a genuinely quite a big upgrade. Raya's strengths, I think, are clear. He's a good shot stopper. He's exceptionally good with his feet. He's a player who's worked previously with Iñaki Kanya, Arsenal's goalkeeping coach, so he understands the demands that are going to be made of him. He understands the game model that Arsenal will try and implement. He's got the technical ability to do it. I think, let's look at it at face value. Is Arsenal's squad better off right now? Absolutely. Last season, Aaron Ramsdale was one of those untouchable players who you felt, could we survive an injury to him and maintain the way of playing? Now you think, well, we've got two goalkeepers capable of playing in that style. Arsenal, last season they went all out for the league, and to a certain extent, every other competition fell by the wayside. I think with the club having the ambitions it does and having spent the kind of money they have, that's no longer an option. Arsenal need to compete on four fronts: Premier League, Champions League, FA Cup, League Cup. They're going to have to play, hopefully, an enormous amount of games, and you're going to need depth and quality in every position. Arsenal now have the capacity to rotate two goalkeepers, potentially play one in one competition, one in the others, without any significant drop-off. And I think that's a real step forward for this squad and for this group. Now, I don't think that this news of Raya's impending arrival has been received kind of just purely as good news. I think there have been some concerns about what that might mean for Aaron Ramsdale or what it might mean in terms of harmony, stability in the group. And a lot of those concerns are more in the long term. Are these two going to be compatible? Are they both going to be able to be in the squad, over the next few years? David Raya signing a long-term contract. Aaron Ramsdale signed a long-term contract back in May. Is that going to be compatible in the long term? I think it's a valid question. I think what's really interesting is that Mikel Arteta plainly isn't particularly worried about that. And I think that is indicative of a shift in his thinking. And maybe Edu's thinking, maybe the club's thinking more generally. Arsenal are now thinking more short term. They're still signing younger players. At 27, David Raya is relatively young for a goalkeeper, and their other summer signings have been young, 24 or under. But they're now looking at the squad that they've put together, what they achieved last season, and thinking, this is a group that can win right now. There's a little bit of short-termism, a little bit of Mikel Arteta thinking, maybe I won't be at Arsenal forever. Maybe I'll never have a better squad than this. I've got to go for it. And if in the long term, that means harmony is slightly damaged or I lose an important player, an important part of the project, one of these two goalkeepers, potentially in 12 months or 24 months, so be it. So be it. That is the decision that he's made. I want intense competition right now. I want to give us the best chance of winning in 4 competitions right now. There's no sentimentality from Arteta, and that shouldn't be a surprise. We know he can be an emotional guy, but I would never describe him as a sentimental guy. Look at his handling of Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, who was an Arsenal club captain, beloved by the fans, beloved by the dressing room, cut ties with him as soon as he felt it was necessary. And I believe he'll be ruthless when it comes to these 2 goalkeepers and the decisions made between them once again. So how is it going to play out? Well, there's no doubt that Aaron Ramsdale is the man in possession of the number 1 shirt, and I think he underlined that with a good performance in the Community Shield. Made a couple of good saves in normal time, and of course saved a penalty. And you saw from the way the team reacted how much that meant to them. Arteta has not promised David Raya anything at this point in time. I know that for a fact. He hasn't said, you will get this many minutes, you will get these competitions. All he has said is you're coming in to compete, you're coming in to fight, and you're coming in to increase the competition within that goalkeeping position. I don't think Arteta has suddenly turned on Ramsdale. I don't think anything dramatically has changed since the extension of his contract in May. That contract extension was always going to happen because it was as much about the fact that Ramsdale had gone from being the deputy to the number 1 as anything else. He arrived on a salary, I think it was about £60,000 a week, that was kind of indicative of Arsenal seeing him as a big future prospect, but not as a starter, and certainly not a starter for a Champions League club. He obviously became the number 1, Arsenal qualified for the Champions League, and that salary needed to be adjusted, and it was. I don't think there's been a big fallout between manager and player since then. He was full of praise for him, Arteta, after the Community Shield. I think Ramsdale is the man in possession, but this is a genuine contest. And I think, with respect to Matt Turner, it hasn't been a genuine contest for some time. Maybe even when Bernd Leno was here, it wasn't a genuine contest, because those 2 goalkeepers, while both very able, were not particularly stylistically suited to playing Arteta's football. I actually think Matt Turner's a really good player, and I think he'll be excellent for Nottingham Forest when that deal goes through. But I think questions should be asked over why that signing was made. He seems so ill at odds with what Arteta wanted to do in terms of having the ball at the feet of the goalkeeper that I do question the decision to sign Turner purely on that basis. And in the end, he only ended up lasting 12 months at London Colney. Ramsdale and Turner really got on, but there was no great sense of competition between them. I think it was a clear hierarchy. That all changes now. This is a genuine fight. Ramsdale seems up for the challenge. There was a good interview with ITV Sport where he said, bring it on. This is what being at a big club is about. He's been the guy in Raya's position trying to oust the number 1 before. He knows what that entails. He knows what it's going to ask for him. And he's ready for that challenge. It could be a really interesting battle. I think it will be. Even if, to be honest, I think it's quite advantageous to be in Raya's position. I think it's easier to be the goalkeeper sat on the bench waiting for mistakes to happen than it is to be the man in possession in some respects, because you're under that pressure, and 1 or 2 mistakes, people start calling for change. I think something to bear in mind is that I don't think you can make a change based on 1 mistake. I think goalkeepers make mistakes. It's part of the position. It's part of the job. It's about how they recover from those mistakes. You might drop a cross and it ends up in a goal, but it's about, well, how do you deal with the next cross? How do you deal with the next game? And I think that's what's going to be interesting for Ramsdale. As a young goalkeeper, he's had spells where he's made a mistake and maybe not recovered particularly quickly. And in previous situations, Arsenal haven't really had the option to make a change. Now they do have that option. So I think he will be afforded the chance to make a mistake. I think all goalkeepers can make a mistake. I think it's when those mistakes come in bunches of 2s and 3s and, a spell of form, that's when we're going to see ruthlessness come into it. It's going to be really fascinating. Raya, is not as tall as Ramsdale. He's about 3 inches shorter, I believe. Will that affect him in terms of coming for high balls, dealing with crosses? Raya is outstanding with his feet. maybe more natural, and he's been doing it for longer than Ramsdale. I do think that some of the deficiencies in Ramsdale's game with his feet are being exaggerated in the discourse. I think he's much better than he's currently getting credit for. I think people have seen the kind of intermediate value passes into midfield diminish, but personally I think that's a lot more to do with how teams set up against us. We've completely lost the element of surprise in that respect. And I think while he does tend to go long quite often, I think some of that's instruction. Look at Man City, look at Edison, look at the degree to which they go long. So I think that's worth saying. The other thing to add, just finally on Raya, is that by all accounts he's an absolutely top professional. I don't think this is going to be a bitter battle. I don't think it's going to be ill-mannered. I don't think it's going to be something that hugely disrupts squad harmony. I heard really glowing reports about David Raya in his last few months at Brentford, even though his contract was running down. He made it very clear he wanted to leave. He'd been told he would be the number 2 at Brentford going forward. Still, his professionalism in training, when called upon in friendly games, was second to none. And I think that's a really interesting quality. It's something Arsenal knew about Ramsdale as well when they brought him in. He had just been the third choice goalkeeper with England at the Euros, and they received glowing reports of his application, his dedication, how he contributed to the wider group. So I think we've got 2 goalkeepers here who are team players. And as much as there'll be an individual rivalry between those 2, I think they will understand and they will put the needs of the team first, and they will want to push each other. It's kind of a cliche, this idea of a goalkeepers union, but it's very real. You know, Aaron Ramsdale and Matt Turner were rivals. They were great friends. Aaron Ramsdale and Bernd Leno were rivals. They really got on off the pitch, and there was a great mutual respect between them. I think we'll see the same thing with David Raya and Aaron Ramsdale. David Raya's been in England for a long, long time. He speaks perfect English. He basically is a London boy. He's got that kind of Hector Bellerin Spanish-English twang. And I think him and Aaron Ramsdale, funnily enough, will probably strike it off. I think they'll probably get on, strange as though that may seem. And hopefully that friendly rivalry between them can be a positive thing for the group and push them to greater heights. I think we've signed a very good goalkeeper for a very reasonable price, as I say. Tottenham really wanted him, couldn't get the deal done. Arsenal have swept in and done it. That's always a nice bonus as well. For Raya, he'd been told he'd be number 2 at Brentford this season. Well, now he thinks, well, listen, I'm number 2 at Arsenal. I've got a chance to be number 1. A real chance. I think they'll start off by splitting the league and cup competitions for the first half of the season. In the second half of the season, it's anybody's guess. It's about who responds better to the challenge, to the fight. Can Aaron Ramsdale keep that place? Can Raya push him out? It's going to be a subplot. It's going to be a bit of a soap opera, I imagine, over the course of the season. You can bet your bottom dollar anytime one of them makes a mistake, the TV directors will be cutting away to the other one on the subs bench. Could Arsenal do without that? Maybe. It's going to be a test of Arteta's management as well. Can he stop it becoming a soap opera? Can he show authority, keep players motivated, keep players happy? I look forward to finding out. But Arsenal squad is looking very strong right now, and expectations for this team will rise accordingly. It's a win now group. Let's see if we win now. I'll leave it there, guys. Do subscribe, do like, do comment, all appreciated. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and take care. Bye-bye.